Good afternoon, everybody, and a very warm welcome to Mildenhall and Volmer. And today is loads of new stuff to show you today and to talk to you about today. Some of it is actually behind the scenes, which you don't actually know about in terms of, firstly, I've got a new camera. Well, it's actually a new phone with a brand new camera, so it's upgraded and it can record in 4K. But at the moment, I'm still trying to work out the kinks in terms of getting the information off the phone and onto the laptop in order to put that onto YouTube. Now, yesterday, some of you may have seen that I did actually do a little running session, and that was direct from the phone up to YouTube, not via the laptop. So that's why there wasn't any of me talking, there was no captions, there was nothing. So it was literally directly uploaded up to YouTube in that format. Currently as things stand, my current video editing software that I use, PowerDirector, doesn't support 4K at the moment, and I need to get it upgraded. So for a little while, I will be still recording in, well, I'll actually be recording in 1080p, because the other thing is, even before I was recording on 720p because it was actually easier to upload with my other phone, and it was taking too long. So this video is kind of a bit of a test really, because I'm going to upload it as 1080p, and we're going to just see how long it's going to take to upload the video in 1080p, and then see basically whether or not I can actually record some test footage in ultra high definition and see how that pans out and how long that takes. So that's kind of the first thing really. So I've got the new software there to test out and to try out, but even so, it won't let me upload it into 4K unless I pay the full amount. So I'm not sure how much that is yet, so I need to delve into that and have a look, or whether or not I can download an app via the phone and basically upload it direct via the phone. Who knows? So that's the first thing to talk to you about. So the next thing to talk to you about is actually to say thank you to all of you guys, because I haven't actually responded to everybody yet, or as per my little mini running session video which I put up yesterday. So I'm going to be getting back to all those that have responded to that, and thank you very much in advance for all those who have commented, and it's really much appreciated. And some made some lovely comments about the diorama behind me, which I will be showing you a bit closer detail very, very shortly. This is one of the pieces, and this has come from Rachel from Wisterton Junction. And like I said before, she took down her layout and asked me if I wanted a few bits and pieces. So she's sent me a whole batch of these. As you can see, they're all literally lined up along the back wall there. And basically I've now put them together to create a scene. So thank you to her for that. And as you can see, that's what I've done, which is what I'll show you very, very shortly indeed. So those of you who watched my running session yesterday would have seen that I did it in the evening time, and I used the lighting on the station itself, which is exactly the same. It's the same lighting that I've used on the warehouse building. And the warehouse buildings have got this kind of daisy chain lighting attached to them that cost me £1 from Poundland back in the days when I had Beringer and Districts, for those of you who remember that far back. So they come on this daisy chain. Unfortunately, this daisy chain isn't long enough between the warehouse units, and I'll show you as we get to it. And so what I've had to do is every individual one I had to splice in two to create the extra length, and then resolder the ends, which kind of took a bit of time. It's a bit laborious, but it does work, as you can see. I've had to do it one by one, because what I did is I took a whole length like this, plugged it in to test to make sure they all worked. So then once I knew that they all worked, it's just a matter of then splicing them up individually. Basically, what you're doing is splicing them up in the middle and then adding an extra piece of wiring in order to create a bigger gap. So obviously they're like that at the moment, but by adding you can basically get the gap that you want. And that means doing something like that where you just splice it in the middle and then you resolder some wiring to both ends, heat shrink them to protect them, and then move on to the next one. But obviously that took a lot of time. And as you can see here, I've still got a load of this stuff, and they all still work because I did actually test them all to make sure that I wasn't keeping any duds. So I did test them all, so they all work. So if I need any more, I've still got plenty here to use. And they are incidentally run off one of those regulated transformers that I originally got ages ago via Dave Howarth, and since then I think Alan has since also got some of these regulated ones, and also he blew one up, so he's had to redo that. Sorry, I shouldn't laugh, Alan. But he's all sorted now anyway, it's all good. He's learnt his lesson as I've done, because I actually didn't know before he did it. So it's actually a very useful thing to know, because I haven't got anywhere near as many as Alan does. That he had linked to one transformer, but I think this is the limit, what's on the station and what's on the what's on the warehouses. So I'm going to spin you around and then I'll show you in more detail. So here's my layout in its entirety. Well, not in its entirety actually, it's a bit more. But the reason why I'm just showing you this is basically I just wanted to quickly show you the lighting. As you can see, that lighting is on the station building. Like I said, that's all now working again after I inadvertently yanked out the wiring previously. And if I just show you down here, it's all linked to the same wiring for the warehouse units. So this diorama is completely, it is literally completely separate to the layout, and it's actually completely free, made free, thankfully, in terms of the kindness, once again, of the YouTubers, that is Rachel in this occasion, who gave me all these warehouse units. And I've still got a few more that she's given me that I haven't actually used all of them. So what I've done is I had some NDF. This is 9mm NDF on the bottom and on this back here. And what I did is I battened it along the back as well. My sky effect is the usual sky effect, which I've just done. I had some white paint, just painted it, and then after just misted it over with some blue to give it that kind of mottled kind of sky effect. So that's what I kind of did. And then I used my glue gun to glue all the various warehouse backings to it. And then what I did over here is I wanted to blend this in with the warehouses because originally I'd started at this end, as you probably sort of saw from the other day. And so what I've done is on this particular one, I had some cardboard here that I wasn't using. And basically I used the front as a template to create a back and a roof, and sort of give it a kind of more depth to then blend in what's here at the front to what's at the back. And I've also put a bulb on the side there. I could have probably put some bulbs on the backs of these as well, but I couldn't actually get to those, so I've just decided to leave them all blank for now, and just to light up the actual area itself. The actual hedging I've got here is just scouring pads, which I've just glued with PVA, and then I'm going to go over it with some Woodland Scenics fine matting, I think they call it, or something like that. And you just basically, it's like a roll in the mat, you just tease it out and you just put it on the top. That will give you the hedging. So that's what I've done. Also, this is new. This is a new trailer. I received this yesterday. And that's just basically just to almost just dump it like you sometimes see with these trailers. they're just dumped, just parked up, and then after, but I haven't really worked out the kinks as to what I'm going to do with the rest of this. I have a rough idea what I'm going to be doing with it, but it's not finished by any stretch of the imagination, but it's a fantastic start. And also with the blind being more or less a similar colour, when that drops down, there isn't too much of a disparity between the two. It doesn't kind of look like it goes into plain white, like it does over here, sort of thing. One of the big things I've also been doing since we're here is, again, I have been doing some more track work, much to the kind of annoyance of my fellow neighbours. But like I said, it's all done during the daytime. So what I've done is I've actually, originally I said I was going to put an embankment along here. Well, actually from this point really onwards. I've decided to reinstate the third track. This is just to create more interest, because I was thinking of putting the embankment here, but I couldn't really work out in my mind how I was then going to marry it up with what's at the other end. So I decided to put the third track back in, because I actually missed the third track, and it was quite nice to actually have more than 2 trains running. So I really liked it, and so I've decided to put that back. Also, what I've decided to do is just to create a bit of extra length. This is the siding here, and to create that bit of extra length, it now goes into the second loop rather than on this outer loop, and that just allows me just to have just a little bit extra, which is basically enough to get a 6-coach train onto my siding that I've got. I've only got one siding here at the moment, but I can't really do much with it at the minute. I will probably put another couple of sidings here, short sidings, specifically for those 2-car DMUs. But I don't particularly want to put anything on here, any more track on here, because this is the drop down section. So I don't really want to put more track work on that section at all, because then it just complicates life in terms of crossing over the joins and things like that. So I don't really want to, and plus I want to try and keep this relatively scenic. I have a rough idea, but I'm not 100% certain yet. But I am enjoying this kind of diversion from my main circuit onto this mini loop. So hopefully we'll carry on working on it, and it will work out quite fine. All my trains are running fine round it. It's very tight, and I'm having issues with just one particular type of wagon, and it's being very funny. So I'm going to have to sort of try and adjust it. So this isn't completely finished, but it'll more or less be more or less as it is now, as you see it. So the next thing to talk to you about is actually, I was supposed to talk to you at the beginning of the video, but I forgot. Basically, my whole plans for this week, as many of you will be affected by this whole coronavirus thing. I don't want to delve too much into it, because to be honest with you, it's quite depressing, but I'd kind of take a view that I'm not going to worry too much about the whole thing, because ultimately there's nothing I can really do about it. So rather than getting all fretting and stressing and being pessimistic about it, or I'm just going to carry on as per usual. I am scheduled to go back to work on Monday, so I've got work to go back to. So that's thankfully something I'm actually quite looking forward to, going back to work, just to keep away from the news, to be honest, and just concentrate on just doing the job that I'm paid to do. So I will be back on Monday, but obviously that's completely mucked up my week's plans, because I was meant to be going down to London to see my family. That didn't happen, and who knows when that will happen. So that was first and foremost. And then I wanted to ride the Javelin, which I didn't get to ride, because obviously, once again, because of all the restrictions and everything. So that's kind of messed things up from that point of view. I didn't even get the sound chip for it, so I'm delayed for various reasons getting the sound chip for that. So that's kind of messed things up there as well. So for the minute, my 395 Javelin is on the back burner, but not forgotten. One of the other things I wanted to sort of say is I'm just going to pop you up I've actually installed my 2 nameplates. Now they're just on the curtain batten because I can do it on that, because that's what it's designed for. So it's not putting any holes in the wall, so it shouldn't upset anybody too much. So the rail frame one was the one that was given to me by Rachel, and the line was the one that I had ordered from Steve Smith. Now, before we skedaddle, I'm going to talk to you about being a kid, because, excuse me a moment, I did something this week that basically took me back to when I was a child, and what kicked off all of this to begin with. So my mum and dad, back in the day, bought me a Hornby train set, and the train set they bought me was the original HST blue-grey version with 1 coach, and it was a train set, and I guess it was probably in the late 70s or early 80s. Actually, it's probably the early 80s actually, because I think the HST came out, it was in the late 70s, I think. So it would probably be in the early 80s that I got my train set. So I'm like gonna be what? Well, I've just gone 45, I should say. Just turned 45. And all these years later, was it about 35 years later, maybe slightly more, I got myself another train set. and I need to talk to you about it, because it's kind of has its similarities to my original train set that I received from my parents all them many years ago, and what's kicked off and started all of this, and that is I got the GWR high-speed train set, and I have to say, why did I? Well, you're probably asking why. Basically, I've been wanting a HST GWR one for some time, and the sets currently I think are going for about 2 power cars, super detail ones, which I have 2, are going for about £269, £270, something like that, 250, depending where you shop. They do vary. And this Hornby train set, you'll never guess how much it costs. This whole thing cost me £107 total. Now that is a huge, huge saving, and you get such a huge amount of this, you get such a huge amount in this pack that is completely unreal. It really is. And I will show you what you get in it, although a lot of it is on the track already, but it is worth showing you what you get, because this isn't just about me as such, but if you're trying to get your child into a hobby like this, and this is a fantastic set to start off with, because this is just current, GWR's current. This is how you see the HSTs around today. Well, the ones that you can find anyway. They are still around. They're in the West Country. Now, what do you get, and is it any good? That's the next question I guess you guys are asking me. And so let's just see what you actually get in the set, which I think is an absolutely incredible set. So RRP's at 120, and so these are the contents, which I haven't but this is what you get. You get an oval of track, which I've used some of the track just to complete. So you get an oval of track with a point, so you get a siding. You also get an analog controller, and you get the power supply, as well as a buffer for your siding, and also a piece of track that's connected to the power clip. You also get an uncoupler. You also get the power car, and you get the dummy car, and you also get a coach. So all of that for 107 that I paid. And if that wasn't enough, you also get a load of information and a Hornby track map. So if you are a complete beginner and you've got a child and trying to get them into the hobby, this is a great way of getting a youngster into the hobby, because this is not a bad price to pay at all for what you get. And you also get some traction tyres for your HST, which is what it runs on. So I think it is absolutely brilliant, and I'll bring it around shortly so you can see how it runs. I just think it's such a brilliant set, and I don't think you can argue with it. And to be honest, it's DCC ready. Is it as good as the Super Detailed? No, it isn't. That's the truth of it. It isn't. But it's still very, very good, and it's still adequate. And for the price that you're paying for it, I don't think you could actually complain, because you have to sort of put things into perspective. You know, if you're going to pay 250, 260 quid, 70 quid, or whatever, for just a power car and a dummy car, Super Detailed, then you're not going to get a Super Detailed GWR HST set, train set for 107. You just won't. So let's bring it into view so you can have a look at it, and I don't think you'll be disappointed. So here is my HST, and this is what you get on the train pack. And forgive me for that, that was my loo gurgling. So this is what you get for your £107. I should say that this coach on the end, the one directly behind the power car, which is this one, is an addition that I spent. So the one at the back, this one, that's the one that you get with the pack. Now, there are some differences compared to the Super Detail one. This is like a railroad version. This is what they call the railroad version of the HST, which is still very good, which is essentially like, for example, it's like this version here. So essentially it's a Lima HST. So it's not a Super Detailed one. But it has lighting. It has lighting in one direction. It is DCC ready. And you can't switch. One of the things that you can't do is you can't switch the lighting off. So that's something you have to bear in mind. The lighting stays permanently on, and it doesn't matter which direction you go in, that the headlights will stay on. So that's one of the kind of things. But you can probably put a diode. Somebody suggested putting a diode in it, and you can muck about with the lighting. So I'm sure you can do some stuff with it, which, to be honest with you, I'm not really that fussed. So that's the kind of, I think it still looks fabulous, to be honest. So you're not going to get the detail of the super detailed HST GWRs, which is to be expected. It runs fantastic at high speed, medium to high speed. At the lower speeds, it is a bit on the stuttery side. I'm not sure if it just needs running in, which I'm still trying to run in. The power car is 43005 and the end car is 43016. And if we I'm going to just bring it in a bit and see if and also the other thing to bear in mind is that the GWRs tend to be in this high gloss green finish, but you'll see that I'm going to do a little side shot. You'll see that the actual railroad version isn't actually high gloss. It's more of a matted down, but to be honest, again, it's not really a big thing for me, and I really just think for the value for money, I think it's just absolutely brilliant. So I'm just going to move it forward a bit. There you go. Righty, okay, so let's see. I'm going to try and see if I can get this down and low and see if we can do a little comparison shot of it. So I guess I think you can actually see, just judging by that, I think I can clearly see from the screen that you can see that the one on the left is the one that comes with the set, and the one on the right is the one that I purchased, and you can see the difference between the matte and the gloss version. So you can clearly see it on this particular view. However, that being said, when you're seeing it running on the layout, I don't think you can really notice it that much. And like I said, it's a fantastic addition to the layout. I really love it. I mean, like I said, it's a complete train set that you can have, and it's just absolutely brilliant. I'm just going to move it forward a bit and you can have a look at the dummy car a bit. So this is it at its low speed. Right, so I think that needs a bit more. Let me just give it a bit more. Right, there we go. Right, so so at low speed, it isn't particularly brilliant. I mean, I think it just needs running in, but like I said, I'm not complaining from that point of view. So this is the dummy car, and again, you can see it's very, very nicely done. It's not, like I said, it's in its matte colour, like the coach next to it. And I don't know if you can sort of see it from a distance, whether or not you can actually see the difference. But yeah, so this is, I'm not sure whether the coach is an older Hornby tooling, or whether or not it's the same tooling as the newer one, but just with less detail and just matte rather than gloss. So that is those are the differences basically that you're getting in this set, between this set and like if you buy the glossy power cars and the glossy coaches on their own. But I think when this is running around in the layout, you really, really can't see what the difference is. It's just whizzing by you so quickly, it's quite hard to tell what it's like. So I'm just going to send her around, and she should run still, and you can see her running for yourself. So I hope you enjoy that. And would I recommend it? I would, yes, I would recommend it because I think you get a lot for your money. And I think if you're trying to get a child into the hobby, I think this is a great way of getting a child into the hobby, because you literally get everything you need to start off with. You get a train, you get the track, you get a track mat, and then you get the power supplies. So you've got everything you need all in one box. So for somebody starting out into the hobby, absolutely brilliant. And even somebody like me, it brings me nostalgia from all those years ago, because that was the first set that I ever got, was a complete Hornby train set, Intercity 125 with one single coach and an analog controller, which is exactly what that is. Just an updated livery, an updated controller, but essentially it's the same train set that I got all those years ago. And, you know, it runs pretty well for what it is. Like I said, it's not 100% perfect, but then you've got to put things into perspective with what you'd get how much you'd pay for the super detailed version. And I think for what it is, I don't think you can go wrong, to be honest with you. So until the next time, thanks for watching. Stay safe, as they say, and I'll catch you on the next video. So bye from Mildenhall Farmer. Bye bye.